Welcome back to a full new episode here on the No Kidding Podcast.
Welcome. It's so chill, so relaxed. Can you for a change put like death metal over it? And then like the one chill episode that we do, it's all like dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun.
The whole time in the background.
No, just for a good block in the beginning. That's a little audio texture for you.
That was nice. There's something about cracking open a fresh can, just the sound itself. Anyways, we're on episode 67.
Oh.
Unless you have anything to talk about ahead of time.
Me? It was a great time. We've had time off for Memorial Day. Salute your troops. But yeah, having all that time off was just amazing and really helped with my productivity. There's a huge project that I've been like setting aside because I'm like, when do I work on it?
Like a work project or a home project?
It was a home project. I think I've mentioned it. I want to put like built-in shelves along my wall. So I've had the wood for a while and it's just a lot of work because I got to plane them all down. And I got to sand them, and then I got to cut grooves and notches in them to leaf the boards together. And then I got to oil them, and then I got to fit them together and anchor them to the wall, and it's a whole thing. So at least I got all of the like cutting and sanding done this weekend. That was nice.
Okay, yeah. So you're actually building the shelves from scratch.
Yeah, like custom
very
shelving
nice.
that like perfectly fits my wall. And I was very happy that I was smart enough. I did a smart Lisa. I took my laser level and I put all the boards, all the vertical boards where they would go. And I marked with the laser level on all of them a similar spot like as a reference point to start from where I was going to cut the grooves for the vertical boards. And sure enough, the ground is uneven there, and all of the reference marks, like if I actually line them up at the bottom and cut them, if I were to cut the notches at the same length from the bottom, it would have been off because the floor is a little bit uneven.
Oh, man.
So
you had to take extra care and measurements to make sure everything was level and aligned.
Well, I may have done a little housework before. Yeah, it was particularly, you always think of floors as being like, oh, they're flat. But if you ever put baseboards in, you realize immediately, like, not only are the floors not flat, the walls aren't flat. like there's waviness. Like you could see little like gaps, little like arches where it should be pressed right up against the wall. And you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I thought, and you're sitting there looking at it, like you take the baseboard away and the wall looks flat. It's like imperceptible to the eye, but as soon as you put like a straight edge on it, you're like, oh no, it's not flat at all.
That makes things more complicated for sure. But as we have talked about before, house projects always seem simple, but when you get down to it, it's never simple. It's always complicated. Far more complicated than you ever thought.
And you know what you got to do?
What?
Go back to Lowe's.
Yeah, you're always going back. They know too. They're like, we know you'll be back.
Yeah, I see that they have like they have delivery or whatever, and I'm like, they should institute a thing where it's like, and then the quick follow-up delivery.
Yeah.
Is 20% off or something.
So did you complete this project or did you just get a head start on it?
Why you gotta belittle my achievements?
I'm not trying to belittle
No.
it. I'm just saying like...
I got all the cutting, well, most of the cutting done. I do still need to cut a few more notches because I didn't have quite all the wood, actually. So I had to go back to Lowe's. And actually it was Home Depot. And Home Depot, okay, so it's weird. Home Depot is like much cheaper wood than Lowe's.
Yes.
But then Lowe's has much cheaper like other little things like, and a wider selection of like bits and sandpaper and stuff, and it's cheaper. So yeah, it's interesting. It's like, oh, now I gotta go to both of them.
Do you have two? Oh yeah, you have two fairly close to you though. Not too bad. Like Lowe's is closer than Home Depot.
Yeah, the Home Depot's kind of far. I mean, the closest one to me technically is the one in OBT. But that sucks.
Way over there. Oh, yeah. That's true.
Yeah, that's a drive I don't want to do because I literally have boards like hanging out of my tailgate.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is hard to know which one to go to. Like Lowe's is really nice for a lot of things. A lot of time, like interior. I feel like it's really good for home interior work.
Yeah.
And then I feel like Home Depot is the nitty gritty behind the scenes work that you need to do.
Like buying bulk wood.
Yeah. So Lowe's is more like aesthetic, and then Home Depot's more for like the foundations and stuff.
I got excited because they actually did have a bulk price on the boards, and I was like, oh, that's perfect. I need to buy like 12 boards. And then they were like for orders of 50 and above. And I'm like, geez.
Yeah. I actually did a little home DIY myself too, because I needed to add like a coat rack in my closet, and I had to order the rods, like the wooden rods, and a specific, size and length, but they didn't have the exact length I needed. They only had like super long length or too short of length what I needed, so I ended up having to go with the longer length. But they required me, and this I did order delivery because they didn't have any in stock at the actual store. But they required me to buy 2 of them in order for a delivery. So I was like, well, I don't need 2 of them, but I'll get 2. I'm sure I could find a use for it.
Yeah, I don't know, I guess.
It's always good to have extra wood rather than not enough. So I was like,
true.
Sure, whatever. But they were like I kind of knew they were going to be long, and it was quite. But it's okay. I cut them down just to the right size, and it all worked out okay. So now I'm trying to I'm hoping that I anchored it good enough that it doesn't come out of the wall. That's my hope. But we'll see.
Did you use a wall anchor, or did you get it into a beam?
I used anchors because that's really the only option that I had. But I was planning. I wanted to put it on a stud, like on the wall.
Stud finders suck.
They do. And also, like, what I think were the studs, I wasn't 100% sure, but also they weren't in it just didn't work. They weren't in the places where I needed to anchor it. Like, it didn't work really well, like, for where they were.
Yeah.
So I just gambled, and I was hoping, like, I hope this works. I hope it just doesn't come out of the wall. And I feel like it'll be okay because it's spaced out enough that I feel like the weight's distributed, that it won't be too much weight on the wall. We'll see.
So what are you going to do about your gambling problem?
Well, I don't think that was a bad gambling problem, so that's fine.
All right.
All right, so how much more do you have to go on your project?
Yeah, I mean, I do need to cut the new boards that I got, and then I just need to sand everything. And, yeah, pretty much just, okay, so there is one extra step in there. So I have to, I was going to say that I just have to put the oil on them. Like, I got some Danish oil to kind of darken them a little bit. Mm-hmm. But, still keep, like, the natural wood grain look. Mm-hmm. But there is one extra step I need to do, which is I got a router. Well, I had a router before. But it was literally like, it even looked like an old one for Sears, but it was a Sears router, and it eventually gave out finally. Won't turn on now. But, so I got a replacement router that's also a plunge router now because, that's cool. But so I'm going to cut some little chamfers on the edge to like really make it pop, make it nice. So, yeah.
So how does the router incorporate into the shelving?
Huh?
I thought you were talking about shelving. How did the router incorporate into the shelving?
The tool, there's a tool called a router that is just, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a drill, but it's held perfectly perpendicular to your workpiece, and then like carves wood off of your workpiece. So you can use it to like carve a little angled edge on the corner of boards to make them like professional.
Okay. I think I know what you're talking about. I'm gonna look it up just so I can see a picture.
There you go. Put it in the link dump.
Put in what?
Put it in the link dump.
The link dump. Okay. Router tool. Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
look up Asus gaming router.
Is that different?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking you were talking about. I was like, wait a minute.
I won't fault you for that. I do talk about routers a lot.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So I have something kind of like that, but it's really not like that.
Oh, what is it?
It's basically like it's like a saw, but it's not as big as a table saw. It's handheld, but I don't think it's as precision as these routers are.
Is like a jigsaw?
Maybe. I'll show you a picture of it.
Drop jigsaw in the link dump too.
Jigsaw? Okay.
Yeah, but you know, the antagonist from the Saw series.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is a jigsaw. It is.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that could be nice for like cutting out holes and stuff. The router is nice because it can do like a certain depth. So if you want like, say a little relief cut into the wood, like a little, I don't know, if you were creating a desk and you wanted to create like a little square cutout that isn't all the way through the board, it's just like a couple inches into the board, so you can like drop your keys or something in there. It's like almost like a tray. Yeah, it's kind of cool. You can do a lot of cool stuff with it. And honestly, because I got a plunge router, which is basically it makes it easier to do that into a workpiece, because normally you have to like have some channel that you cut into to get into the middle of the board to start cutting like that. But a plunge router, you can just put it in the middle of the board and it will lower until it's cutting like out the space that you want.
Cool.
And what I kind of want is I want to see if I can use it as a drill press. You know what a drill press is?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's been a couple times where I'm like, oh my god, I really need like a super straight like hole drilled in something like at a precise location.
Yes.
And I was like, do I want to buy like a whole drill press for this? And I mean, a router is just it's essentially a drill that is pointed directly down at something, you know? And then the plunge router allows it to plunge. So, you know.
So you have a plunge router, but do you have a regular router, a different router?
Well,
or is that the only router
it functions as a regular router as well.
No, I know, but that one...
I had a regular router, and it was the Sears one that crapped out on me.
Okay, so then you got a plunge router as a replacement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now you can do that.
Yeah, exactly. It's got the extra functionality. And it also came with a guide, which is super cool. So it has a little attachment on it where you can set a certain depth from the edge. So it cuts like exactly 2 inches in, for example, which is nice.
Cool. Wow, that would come in handy.
It is pretty cool.
Especially if you're building like shelves or your own cabinetry or I don't know.
So like if you're building shelves, for example, you can cut like little reliefs into stuff. Mm-hmm. You can cut like, if you've ever seen, I don't know, like IKEA has these kind of things where there'll be like little notches cut into wood so that you can like slide a shelf into the two sides of like a bookshelf. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can cut that yourself. You can cut a little trough through the wood, and then that's like the exact width of your shelf. And then you just get a little square board and put it in as a shelf, and it rests on that little trough that you cut out.
Cool.
Which is super cool.
Yeah, that is super cool. Well, I hope you get a lot of good use out of that. Now you have no excuse not to do home projects. Home DIY. None of this ordering prepackaged stuff that you just put together.
Yeah. I think I talked about this before that I got a planer, but we won't go into that.
A planter or a planer?
A planer.
Oh, for planing wood.
Yeah, but...
Yeah, okay.
It's like a big one, like a thickness planer that takes the whole board.
Why would you need that?
So that I can...
You're chopping down your own wood and then...
Yeah, I could pass with like a log through it and slowly turn it into a board. It'd probably be a rather inefficient way to do that, but...
Oh, okay. Are you going to start becoming a carpenter? Building like wood stuff?
Good enough for Jesus, good enough for me.
Yeah, that would be so fun. I would love to do something like that. Like work with my hands and build something out of wood. I feel like that would be so much fun.
I feel like it's becoming kind of a trope that that programmers do that, though, because it's like after making so many immaterial things, I think at a certain point you're like, I want to just like grab a log and make something with it.
Isn't that interesting?
Minecraft style.
Yeah. And I've noticed that there's more and more people who, younger generation who grew up mostly with the internet and all of that, they're now wanting to go outside and explore and go into nature and stuff. Mm-hmm. That's so interesting, though, because everybody's like, oh, if you're raised a certain way, or, everybody has their opinions, but they're like, you're never going to appreciate the things outside of that, And I'm thinking your soul kind of gravitates towards certain things, and it will miss certain things and want to learn the opposite of what you already know. So you're like, I don't know, there's so much danger and exposure to certain things, because I feel like at the end of the day, you're going to even it out somehow. Maybe. No, that might not always be the case, but it's just something to ponder.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Like, I feel like when we were kids, even, like, not even that long ago, because we're super young, that you could go outside, like your parents would just be like, yeah, like, go ride your bike around. But I feel like a lot of kids these days, it's like, don't go outside. There's strangers out there.
Yeah.
Like, that would be crazy.
Complete opposite. I know.
And then it's just like, oh, well, I need to stay inside on a tablet where I'm going to meet strangers anyway.
Yeah, you are. It's true. Could be even creepier strangers. Who knows? Because you're exposed to, like, far more people than you would be here, just like in your neighborhood.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, that's also true. Like, growing up, being outside all the time and not being exposed to the internet and, like, all of the world online and all of that, it almost made, I think, my generation somewhat curious about it, because it was something we weren't used to or something we didn't really know. So there's a lot of us that got really curious about it when it became more mainstream, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just interesting how people's curiosities work. I don't know. I'm very curious about people's curiosities.
So you would say you're meta-curious.
Yeah, meta-curious. Yeah, exactly. I do like pondering, though, and like having like questions about stuff. Don't you? Like, I think that's natural. I think most people do.
Well,
wonder about stuff.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, I think ideally I want to get to an answer, but I don't think there's anything wrong with just having a question.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, like, do I really want to know the answer? But I think I do. I think when I do question things and wonder about stuff, I do want to know the answer. But there are people that just want to wonder and not really ever really know.
What's something you don't want to know the answer to? The meaning of life.
No, well...
When you're going to die.
I don't know. I think I might want to know that. I think I would.
You think you could handle it?
I think so.
Like, that you'd be like, okay, I have 7,845 days left. And then the next day you'd be like, 7,844 days left.
I kind of think I could, but I don't know. I don't know, because, like, in a way, we all know we're going to die, and it doesn't really affect most people, it doesn't really affect the way that they live. Mm-hmm. But if you're given a specific date,
yeah,
I feel like it would affect the way that I live. Like, maybe I would...
For the better?
I don't know, maybe. Maybe I would do something different, but, like, shouldn't I be doing that anyway, because I know I'm going to die? It could be sooner, it could be later.
True, so you can get that effect without...
Yeah,
or,
isn't that funny?
Or is that true? Do you really need the, like, motivation of the date on the calendar to have it happen?
I don't know. It's a good question.
It's heavy stuff.
I don't know if it would really matter, to be honest. Maybe it would, but I almost don't think it would, but...
Well, okay, let's lighten the topic. Do you think that the death penalty should be carried out instantaneously?
Oh my gosh. What do you mean by that? Isn't it already?
Well, like, because you're saying, like, it's debatable whether you'd want to know because maybe you'd want to do something, like with the time you have left. But somebody on death row doesn't, like, they can't do anything. They just have to sit there and, like,
Oh.
watch the days go by. It's like,
Well,
oh,
they
God.
can do things. They can, like...
I mean, they can think.
Well, true. I think
Not
they
much
can
else.
write, or they can... Yeah, you're right. They can't really do a whole lot with, like, developing their life, but they can...
They could, like, write a letter to somebody and be like, hey, I'm sorry for that thing I said. Bye.
Yeah, they can... Yeah, exactly. They have an opportunity for repentance or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That's true. That's a good question.
Good question. Let's move on.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that I would wonder about and not really care if I found out about it. But I can't really, I don't know. But actually, one thing that came up recently, and this is like a Mythbusters thing because they wonder about stuff and then they test it and then they figure it out and then they determine whether or not, can be
Right.
plausible or not. And one of those things was why, well, okay, first of all, there's no real proof that this was a common practice with pirates, but why pirates wore an eye patch?
Oh, the below deck, above deck thing?
Yeah, and I actually thought that was very interesting. I never even
I use that tactic sometimes. Like
It
if I have to walk from a very bright room through a dark area and then back into
Yeah.
a bright room or something, like I'll close an eye and I'll acclimate it.
There you go.
And then I'll switch when I go in the dark. Or just
Right.
open both. And then
Yeah, so the wonder is, did they really do that? Was that really the purpose? Or is that just myth? Is that just something that people thought, well, that's probably why they did it. But like history like never really says that was a common practice with pirates. It's just like that's what we see because that's how sometimes they're depicted in drawings and Disney, whatever.
yeah. I mean,
But is that really what they did? I don't know.
like usually these stories and stuff come from somewhere, right? So there's
Yeah,
probably
that's
at least like a famous pirate that had an eye patch, but there was also the whole thing about them being like injured or missing limbs or whatever, like because it was a dangerous profession. They're out there without any like real medical help.
Exactly.
So
But I like to think that maybe they were smart enough to figure out that if you cover one eye, it acclimates your eye to the darkness. So when you go below deck, you can switch your eye patch to the other side. And now you can see below deck quickly and easily. That's just so smart if that's really what they did. But
yeah, it makes sense.
who
I mean,
knows?
it is weird like to think about back in the day. Like how little light there was inside structures. Like we think of, like we kind of take for granted that everywhere just has light. But like, have you ever tried to actually navigate by candlelight? It's awful.
Actually, yeah.
It's like if you actually just are literally using a candle, it's like, oh my God, you can't see anything. Like I've seen, what was it? I think it was like Amnesia, The Dark Below is a video game, a horror game. They had I think they had a light that was like I think it was a Zippo or something, and it lit like basically the realistic amount of light that would be lit up from that. And people were like, this is useless. Like, why would you ever do this? So it's like, well, that was pretty much what most people had most of the time. It was basically just to keep you from walking into walls. It wasn't like you're going to find anything.
Exactly. Like just lighting enough space so that you don't, run into anything. That's true. I was actually recently watching like a medieval show, and I was thinking about that because I was thinking, really, they have to rely on natural lighting, which really they didn't have enough of it because the walls of castles and like different buildings and stuff didn't really allow for a lot of natural light. And then they had these areas where they would have candles burning, but really, like you said, that doesn't illuminate that much space. So yeah, how did they conduct any business unless it's like bright daylight out, how come they didn't have like more lighting, more like natural lighting, I guess. Did they have, yeah, they did. They had, glass, like, stained glass, over their windows, so they could add more windows. But maybe it was just not structurally sound if they did that.
I mean, some people did. Yeah, they had like a lot of windows. But imagine if you have like an inner room or, just like you didn't have the money to buy glass.
Imagine if you're like laying in bed and then you hear something like a scattering across the ground, or like you felt something on you and there was no way to see it.
And that happened all the time because they didn't have like weather stripping and stuff.
Oh my goodness.
Imagine the house we grew up in, like it was pretty, there was an area, like it was pretty roachy outside.
Yes.
And they would occasionally get inside, like the like big palmetto bug kinds.
A little more than occasionally. I've developed like a serious phobia.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild. Like I remember one time we dug up like a stump nearby the house and just they poured out of it. I was like, oh my God.
Stop it. Yeah, no, seriously. So, I mean, I'm sure they have bugs like that over there in England and Scotland. And
you mean big bugs?
Yeah, big bugs. I don't know.
I mean,
I'm sure it just happens. Snakes. What if a snake got in and like was crawling on your bed?
I think that, I mean, honestly, people were like super worried about snakes. I feel like that's kind of an outdated fear at this point. Like, I feel like I've rarely ever had to worry about a snake. Like, I've seen them, but like they usually skitter away as soon as they see me.
That's true most of the time, as long as you're not trapped.
Yeah, I feel like people have spent a lot more time like either in the wilderness, like obviously there's a lot of tale like cowboys finding rattlesnakes in their boot, or like probably like you said in their house, like in outhouses too, like they would slither in there and then you'd go pull your pants down.
I will say when I lived over at the shack, which for our listeners, that it's just like it's what we called the house that I lived
was next to the office that was on the same property as. Anyway.
Yeah, so our dad owned two buildings. One he conducted his work in, his office. It was his business. So it was called the office. Well, it was an office. I don't know why it was called the office, because it was an office. It was like a professional office. Anyway, next to that was like this, like you can consider it like an old house that might have been in the 1900s, like early 1900s.
Yeah, I mean, it was, sure. I probably like middle.
Mainly because it didn't have
1950s.
It really didn't have much insulation. It didn't have it had a bathroom. It didn't have hot water. It only had cold water. It didn't have a kitchen. It didn't have a shower. It didn't have what else? I don't know. It had just like bare necessities.
Pretty
anyways,
wild.
So I lived there for a while, and this is another place that like gave me my phobias of things, but mainly roaches. But like we did as much as we could to combat that. But there were things that would just get into the house because it was like a shack basically. So there was ways for things to get in. There was also no air conditioning. We had AC units that we put in there.
Yeah, in the windows.
In the windows, yeah. So anyways, a snake did get in there once.
Inside the house?
Yeah, inside the house. And I remember...
How big was it?
It was like a skinny green, probably like a garden snake. Because normally we have black racers here in Florida. Like, they're everywhere. And they're not harmful at all. They're like, and I don't think this green snake was that harmful. I think it was just a garden snake. But I don't see green snakes that often. So that was kind of weird. And basically...
So you were like, I'm alarmed.
Yeah, we were alarmed, obviously. And of course, it's a snake. Like, you're just naturally afraid of it. But it turned out to be okay. I want to say we caught it and just like let it go outside. Pretty sure that's what happened. But yeah.
It's interesting. Snakes have never really perturbed me.
No, I'm not really that afraid of snakes, but it's like when anything that invades your home, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't belong there, and you're instantly kind of.
And then you have to deal with it.
Afraid of it, and then you have to deal with it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're essentially getting into a fight
Fighters.
Yeah, don't get me started on those. Ugh.
Oh my gosh, we had several spiders at that place. Ugh. How did I survive that place? I don't even know, but I did.
Yeah, huntsman spiders.
The big ones, yeah, like the big brown ones.
They were like the size of your hand.
Yes, the size of your hand on the wall. And to be honest, like, I've heard that the bigger the spider, the less dangerous it is.
Yeah, it's all the tiny ones that'll kill you.
However, I'm sorry, but a huge spider the size of your hand that jumps and moves at the speed of light, there is nothing on earth that will not be scared by that. I'm sorry. Like,
yeah, they zip under like a piece of furniture, and you're like, I will remove everything from this house until I find this spider.
For real.
Yeah, there was
I feel like. Go ahead. I just kind of feel like we need to move on because we're manifesting some bad stuff.
They're aggressive. That's
the thing.
When you look them up, it's like huntsman spiders are a non-aggressive spider. I'm like, no. I mean, sure, I was throwing shoes at it, but like they would come after you.
And they're like thinking, man, these humans are aggressive.
Yeah, they're like, I am defending myself.
Yeah,
fair enough, but like, they move fast, and they'll point their little legs at you. The front ones,
they do.
They're like, I'm coming for you.
Generally though, like, it's funny because the small spiders I don't really mind because I'm like, oh, they're okay. They're just gonna eat all of the bugs that I don't want in my house. So I'm like, it's fine.
Spider bros.
Spider bros, yeah. We need some of those in the house. I don't mind those. We've had geckos get in. You know, those are crazy fast too. And nothing against geckos, but again, it's something about the unnatural speed that they have that's really creepy, you know?
Well, I don't know. I don't have a problem with geckos.
I mean, they're cute,
Maybe I'm just like good with reptiles.
Yeah. I mean, I had one living in my room for probably like 2 weeks, and I wasn't too happy about it, but at the same time it wasn't a spider or a roach, so I was a lot more willing to live with it. But at the same time, you still don't want something that could potentially crawl on you. If there's, oh my gosh. I don't like the picture that you just sent me. Andrew just sent me a picture of a spider on a leaf, and
what'd you get? That is a subreddit called Spider Bros.
Yeah, no, I see that.
Is a whole collection of people that are a fan of spiders.
A fan of spiders, okay. I mean, I'm willing to accept most animals
but not spiders.
Sub-animals. No, I mean, spiders, like I said, like some of them are okay. It's just the ones that, like you said, can be aggressive, will show themselves to you, will be huge and fast.
Like this one?
No, I don't want to see it.
Okay, avert your eyes. It's really bad.
As you send it to me anyways.
Yeah, don't look at it.
Don't look at it. I have to open it. Ah, yeah. Are those babies on there?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
It's a cluster. It's a spider cluster clustering
on
on
I cannot open
Mama
your
spider.
chat anymore. You have to send me, like, spam me so that I don't have to see that again.
All right, I'll delete it.
So anyway, what were we talking about?
Let's
stop manifesting creepy crawlies into our life, okay?
I'm uncomfortable.
Why are we talking about this anyways?
The shack.
Oh, no, we were talking about the not having enough lighting and not being able to see what's there. Now, then again, it could be a blessing in disguise because maybe you don't want to see it, you know, because once you see it, that's it. Because if I see something...
Is this one thing that you don't want to know the answer to?
Exactly. Because if I see something and I know it's there, I won't sleep until it's gone.
But, I mean, the worst thing is when you're, like, asleep and you feel something crawling on you.
Oh my gosh, I know. That is the worst thing. And we just need to change the topic, to be honest. This is going too far.
Have you ever been in a
Everybody's
car?
got the EBGBs. Have I ever been what?
In a car?
Yes.
You felt something crawl across you and you're like, oh, pull over.
Have I told you this story? I don't know if I told this story on the podcast yet. But one time, actually, I think it was your graduation, your high school graduation, maybe. I want to say.
Perfect.
Did you graduate from high school at UCF?
No. Oh. Yes.
Like the UCF auditorium or whatever?
Yeah,
or
the graduation ceremony was at UCF.
Okay, yes. So it was there. So we were driving, Mom and I were driving, well, Mom was driving, I was in the passenger seat, and we were driving home from that, and we were still on UCF property, I think, or maybe just off, I don't know, but, and Mom got pulled over by the police, and
Classic.
I think because she was driving, she had driven without her headlights on or something. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was something dumb like that, though. And
you need those to see.
They pull us over. They have the bright lights flashing in our spotlights on our car. They're yelling at her, "Get out of the car!
Get on the ground!"
Get on the, they were seriously, really mad about it. It wasn't a normal traffic stop. I don't know what it, I don't know why they went all intense like that.
Wow.
But the reason that it was scary for me is because I was in the passenger seat. And when they were saying, get out of the car, get out of the car, I opened my door and they yelled at me and they said, "Passenger, close your door, get back in." So when I closed the door, all of a sudden, a roach crawled on me. It crawled on my leg. And
my God.
and I was freaking out, okay? Because I, at this point, have developed a serious phobia to these things. I'm there is nothing else on this planet that will make me freak out the way that a roach will. And I know that they're so terrifying. I know. And I know that they're really technically harmless, but to me, it's the worst thing in the world. So I'm freaking out. And then I flick it off of my leg onto the door.
Right.
And then I open the door because I want to get it out of the car. And then they're yelling at me again. The police are "Passenger, close your door."
Oh my
God. As this is happening, I'm I see another one and it crawls on my toe. I mean, I had open-toed shoes.
Oh.
Andrew, I'm not kidding you. I jumped out of the car. I was I'm not, I was in tears.
You're I will take a bullet.
I'm freaking out. They pulled a gun on me. I was telling me, "Get back in the car, get back in the car." And I'm thinking no, I can't get back in the car. And it was so traumatic. It was so traumatic. Anyways.
Well, if anyone ever doubts that you have a phobia of roaches again.
Yes. I was ready to get killed. It was terrible. But I did get back in the car and I was I don't know, I was freaking out the whole time. And then they called Mom to the back of the car and they talked to her for a little bit. And I think maybe they thought she was somebody else. Maybe they thought the car was the same as somebody. I don't know. But she's "Oh yeah, it was just."
What car was this?
It was her white.
The Ford Tempo?
No, it was a wagon.
It had the ladybug fabric as the ceiling.
I don't remember that. I don't remember the ladybug fabric.
Yeah, that was a really crappy car, though.
Yeah, it was.
It was pretty trash.
It was trash, and
it became my car later.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that.
I drove it for 3 years at the beginning of college before it crapped out.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It was quite the experience. And I was just I don't know. I thought I was going to die. One way or the other. I was going to die. And then, so we waited for the police to leave. And then I made Mom help me search the car. And then we didn't find them again. And then I just was terrified the whole way home. Because I was I know they're in the car. I know they are. And
did you at least jump out with your hands up?
No, I jumped up and was wiping my body because I was get him off, because I was freaking out. I was not even really listening to them at that point because I was just in a full terror.
Rummaging through your pockets, suddenly making jerking movements, all of the things they tell you not to do in front of a cop. I know.
And I'm such I am so afraid of authority. So
it was a real rock and a hard place.
It really was. But I survived somehow. But yeah, so that's how much I don't like roaches and creepy crawlies at nighttime especially. So, yeah.
Wow.
All right, cool. Well, have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
See ya.
Signing off. Adios. Bye.
In a world of words where laughter intertwines, there's a podcast that's got rhythm and it's one of a kind. hosted by a brother and a sister, diamond hair, witty banter and deep talks, they're the perfect flair. They float through arbitrary topics like a whirlwind ride. Everything to nothing, it's a wild, wild slide. No stone left unturned, no tangent too far. They explore a diverse world like a shining star. No kidding, they're the masters of conversation. Their podcast brings joy and fascination. Like a jazz tune, they swing from topic to topic. Brother and sister, their love never stops it. So join the No Kidding podcast and be part of the win. Ooh, yeah.
I love